It's 8 o'clock, which means it's time for the talk.
Time for the talk.
Time for the talk. What do you guys want to talk about? What's your wins? Let's start bragging this morning. Brag about yourself a little bit.
I got a
Well, I
phone
have
call.
another open house this weekend, the first one in a couple of weeks. So I'm
There you
excited
go.
about that.
You're gonna rock that shit.
I got a YouTube client under contract.
Dang, nice.
Heck yeah. Charlie keeps saying something, but we can't hear him very well.
I was just saying nice.
Nice. Nice. All right. Anyone else? Come on. Brag
I got
about it.
my Binzer accepted.
That a girl. Way to go. Did they accept to fix the neighbor's bullshit?
Oh, not that one. I got my
Oh,
other
the other
Binzer.
house. Got it.
No, I do. That's actually what I would like to talk about today. So
Hmm.
whenever we're ready.
I think
I'm
it's kind of funny.
into the office today, and I'm gonna pick a unwilling victim, and I'm gonna offer to contribute something today and help them out.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I've chosen to do today.
I'm trying to creep on Fabby's 695 subscribers. Good job. Keep it up.
The video, I know what video because I asked. He saw this video I made about land in San Diego. And that was actually like really popular. They're always telling me they call me from that one. I got a listing lead actually and a relo from that one yesterday
There you
too. So it was made over, I made it, I don't know when I made it. I think it was like close to a year ago, but yeah,
Well, good. Keep it
yeah.
up. That's what, putting videos out there as content that revisits itself. You did it a
Mhm.
year ago, now you're getting leads off it. Guys, why are you waiting? I mean, even though she gets 87 views, 40 views, 30 views, don't be
Yeah.
discouraged. Those are great views. That's imagine 30 people standing in your office talking to you at once. How overwhelming would that be?
Yeah, I don't get like the thousands and thousands of views, but I do get calls from it. So
You don't, you
it
don't
used to discourage me a lot, but I look at it differently now.
Good. I'm glad that that frame of mind have changed. Guys, you don't need to be a pop artist or a bop star on social media to get all the views. Just have to have relevant content that people are looking for. I watched a video the other day of how to change something on a steering column. I don't know, it was obscure video from the 90s. It's had like 40,000 views from a channel that has 40 subscribers. People will go looking for hyper specific stuff when they come across your things. Great. They're not bruising through YouTube like, I like this girl. I'm gonna look at her videos. No, they're Googling how to buy land in San Diego or distressed houses in Tucson or do I need to be a veteran to get a VA assumption? Boom, your video pops up. They watch it from Google. I hope I'm reaching your heart a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Do they need to be a veteran to do a VA assumption?
Nope.
Okay, good. I've never done one, but my current client wants to do that. Thank you.
There you go. There's your question. You
Just
do
literally
not.
just Googling that right now.
Yeah, you do not have to be a veteran.
But your clients will probably want them to be.
Yeah. Hold on, Missy.
Like,
That's discrimination.
No,
uh, and
it's not. It's protecting because and Christina's absolutely right, and I'd love her to tell us more.
I'm just joking. It would be discrimination.
Professor Christina, please explain yourself.
if you have another VA eligible buyer person take over the loan, then it will release the eligibility or the entitlement for the seller so that they're free to use that again. However, if they sell it to someone that is not VA eligible, they can still assume it, but the eligibility or that entitlement gets tied up with that loan for the life of the loan until it gets paid off by that person. So it reduces the buying power of the veteran on their next property.
If they want to use a VA loan again.
Yeah,
If they do. I always question why they, like when I see that it'll be like, oh, it's eligible or we're open to assuming it by military and non-military. And I'm like, ooh, why?
Yeah, exactly.
Probably because the agent doesn't understand the ramifications involved in allowing a non-VA to assume a VA loan. Now, here's a big thing, and we'll get to your thing in a second, Caitlin, but this is a good topic because 4 of you didn't know. If a non-VA buyer, a normal human being that's not a veteran or eligible for VA benefits, assumes a VA loan, yes, the VA entitlement is strung up for the entirement of that deal until it's either paid off or assumed by another VA person. Now, a big concern there is if the buyer forecloses on that VA loan, that VA entitlement is gone forever.
Ooh,
Even though the seller has sold the property and the other guy assumed it, no, that VA entitlement is gone forever.
That's terrible.
Which it could be gone forever if they continue to allow assumptions.
This is true. It could be gone forever if they allow it to stay in there forever. But that's the thing. I don't know if it can be assumed a second time. That's a really good question.
Yeah, that might impact. I know sometimes the assumption will, depending on how old the home is, will afford them things like a waived appraisal, other things that you would have to have with a new loan origination that you wouldn't have to have because it's being assumed. But subsequent times after that, yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
Now, what if I had a VA loan and I passed and it went to my trustees with a loan balance? Would they have to refi or would it be able to continue?
That's a really good question for a trust attorney.
I mean, what happens with a normal non-VA?
Say there's no trust attorney. It just, goes through probate, goes to the heirs or whatever, my daughter or whomever, right?
Well, it's still just a loan. It's just a government-backed loan. So, I mean, what would happen to a normal mortgage in that case?
With no military status? I mean,
yeah. Like, what does happen?
I don't think they'd call it due.
Yeah, I don't know. Who pays on it? Like, what happens to it?
Typically, when that happens, they're not calling the notes due upon death. It just goes to the estate to pay it. But they might, depending on what paper they signed.
Yeah.
So, like I said, very good question for a trust and estate attorney to answer those questions about what happens when I die.
VA is not the only one that you can do assumables on, right?
No,
correct,
but
Jason?
it is the only one we're talking about at the moment.
Yeah, I was just letting new people know that there are any other like FHA.
Oh, we're gonna wait for any finance conversations till Fridays because guess what's coming back tomorrow?
Steve?
Finance Fridays?
Finance Fridays with Sam.
Sam.
Ooh, yay.
Not Sam, it's Sam.
It's Sam. It's fucking Sam. I'm gonna tell him right now you guys are excited because he texted me the other day because
tell him we said who's Sam.
Yeah.
No lies. Tell him that there's like 3 OGs on the call that are excited about it. Those are really helpful because that's when we could really dig in, like on 10. That's when I got my 1031 client, like shortly after that. And I immediately called Sam and he did that deal with me.
There you go. Yeah, Sam's doing a deal for me right now with one of my good friends and past clients. I think we're closing in at like 7.5, 8 days. Oh yeah. I got clear to close yesterday, and we can sign tomorrow. So 10 days. And I didn't even know I had this deal. And here's the funny thing is, I gave him the number out to my friend saying, hey, I gave his number to my friend who's thinking about, getting her credit up. She then gets her landlord to agree to sell the house that she's renting from him to her. And Sam calls me up and says, hey, big man, I need a contract. So.
Sweet.
Oh, speaking of Sam.
Huh, look at that face.
It's almost like you knew we were talking about him.
Oh,
Somebody got tipped off. Insider trading.
Guys, long time no see.
Yeah. Because they have so many questions about finance stuff, Sam, I said, you know what, we're not going to talk about that anymore because we're going to wait until Fridays.
There we go. One more day.
So, for those of you who don't know, this is Sam Borthwick, my finance partner. He is based out of Washington, Alaska, the northeast of the
like the good Washington, not DC. Yeah.
The what do they call the upper left?
Pacific Northwest. Come on now.
So
Alaska, huh?
So he's going to bring a ton of knowledge, a ton of information, but I told him to jump on right now and let people know he's real and tell them why they should show up on Fridays.
Yeah, so we did this segment a little bit ago, if you guys remember. I see some familiar faces, obviously. But honestly, I love doing this. I love solving puzzles. So even if this does not mean you have to like give me the deal, if you're dealing with any transaction that has wonky financing or just like prospective clients, weird houses, any sort of scenario, bring it. Let's solve problems. Let's put deals together. I've dealt with so many weird scenarios over the years that I could write a book about it. It'd be a very boring book, but I could write a book about it. So for more content for my future book, they'll be very boring. I'll just call it the boring finance book.
Jim will read it.
The
He'd like a signed copy.
The big boring book on finance.
Yeah, the big boring book on finance. A great toilet read. Great toilet read. No
book you'll ever read about homework.
Yeah. Any sort of financing questions, property types. There's a lot of nuances that are changing now. Like I think we're expanding financing in a positive way. If you guys remember, prior to 2008, there was a lot of really bad financing. And since then, the whole world on the financing side really retracted, and it was super bread and butter and vanilla. But as we've kind of expanded into more ways of measuring risk and mitigating that risk, we've opened up a lot of other ancillary options. So there's terms that you start hearing, a few years back, like DSCR and, pre-HUD manufactured homes and all these weird one-off scenarios. And as we kind of go through this market where clients are still struggling with affordability, we have to be able to look at stuff that is not just black and white. And so there's a lot of opportunity that exists in the gray area. And that's where I come in to try and help explain the do's and don'ts of the gray area. So see you Friday.
See you guys on Fridays.
Can we talk tomorrow, Sam, about what's the new scoring that they just like, you know what I'm talking about? That's all I had to say. He knows what I mean.
Yep. We'll discuss that. So how you can use rent in lieu of credit and what that looks like. It's not super black and white, but how you can use your rental history and what's called alternative credit. Honestly, funny story, that's been around forever. It's just not been spotlighted in the way it has. As soon as something hits the mainstream media, it gets blown up really big, which is cool because, yeah, I've used alternate credit for years. Cell phone bills, utility bills, credit history, anything that we can show a track record of more than 12 months or at least 12 months of someone making on-time payments is a good thing. So just kind of learning how to solve that problem in a non-traditional way. But yeah, talk about that tomorrow.
You guys excited to have Finance Fridays back? A little bit of money matters mindsets. And I am. Sam, you can't go wrong with Sam.
I mean, you could, but not with finance.
Not with finance. All right. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah.
We'll see you in the morning.
Yeah. Mara, we should talk tomorrow too about if you're interested or don't know it, like how to address the spread between the loan balance and the sales price on VA assumables.
There we go. I think it's a great opportunity for us to have those tactical conversations with someone who is in lending. And Sam's proven himself a dozen times to me already that he knows what he's doing, and I can trust what he's saying. And he's cut from the same cloth that we all are. So I'm excited for him to come back. That he can tell you the story of why he couldn't be here. But you know what? Politics.
Dan, I think I've dominated this entire week with questions, but on that same kind of topic, how do you choose? Like, I've got a lot of lender partners. How do you choose the lender you want to work with, or maybe for each client?
That's a great question we can talk about tomorrow because Caitlin has already raised her hand.
Oh, my bad. I stepped all over the place.
Way to go, Jim.
Take that.
Sorry. Okay, so I have clients that just did inspections on their house. The house is built in 2023. It's basically a brand new build, okay? So the inspector does the inspections. At the inspection, my client's a structural engineer dad comes along. And I got a text from my client yesterday. Basically, her dad had looked at this back wall, or the wall that is shared with the neighbor. Okay. The neighbor on the other side put in a flower bed, but how he put the flower bed in is he removed all of the backfilled dirt. So her dad is saying that it could potentially affect the structural integrity of the wall, right? So my clients want to ask the sellers, they want to put in, like, for our Binzer response, at the expense of the sellers to have a structural or civil engineer come out and basically certify that the wall is structurally sound. So my inspector didn't note anything about that on the report. Her dad didn't bring anything up when we were there. This is something that he had sent to her afterward. So the only picture, I only have the picture to go off of. But I had asked Dan, is this something that we're able to ask the sellers for? Is it a little ridiculous? How do we go about this, basically, you know? And I also was thinking, well, it wasn't noted on the inspection report. Is it still something we would be able to ask for? So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I talked with my buyers more about it. They are, they're concerned, but they're also the type of clients to make a mountain out of a molehill. So that's why I'm trying to be understanding with their concerns and whatnot, but also like, okay, is this a realistic thing, or is this something to actually be concerned about? So what I did do is I went through the HOA guidelines to see what the HOA says about putting anything up against the shared walls. And it does say that you have to have a permit. You have to have a permit and permission from the HOA in order to do that. So I don't know. My thought process is I could call the HOA today and see if those people did get a permit for it. And if they did, then my clients are cleared. And if they didn't, my clients would still be cleared, because it would be the responsibility of the homeowner, like the neighbor that did the work. Is that right?
Can I ask questions?
Yeah, please.
The permit that they have to get, is it like issued by the city? Like, is it something you can go in and check records to see for yourself?
So I'm not entirely sure. I know that the city of Oro Valley is big on permits, but I'll put a picture of the flower bed in the group chat so everyone can see what I'm talking about.
Because your clients just want to know that it's got structural integrity. Have you already contacted somebody that could come out and certify or verify that?
I have not. No. So they sent this to me yesterday whenever I was driving out to California. So I wasn't on my phone much. But our Binzer period is over today, and I don't know how fast I can get someone out there.
Probably can't. But here's the thing, right? Let's talk about, is the wall next? Because the picture you showed me looks like the dad's looking over laterally, not butted up against.
So he is. So they have on the other side. Okay.
Bless you.
So
Thank you.
They have a corner lot. They have a corner lot in the middle of a neighborhood. So the person is directly behind them, and he is standing out on the sidewalk. That's why it looks the way it does.
So is it leaning?
No.
So he's just concerned about future issues. How much is it? How far down did they dig?
I put the picture in the chat for you, Caitlin.
Thank you. It looks about 2 feet, and that's what they said. They said that he had dug out about 2 feet. So the wall, the flower bed that is like completely all along that wall, that is the shared wall with my clients.
But you can still see the foundation of it at the bottom. It's not like all they did was remove loose fill dirt, right? There wasn't riprap. Was there like riprap and like an actual like retaining wall there?
No, it's just the
go ahead.
foundation to the block wall. And
Because you can see the base of it, like on the bottom left side there, like.
Yeah, and he had said so. They said that that's the footing exposed, and that it's not supposed to be exposed like that.
Versus having loose dirt against it that's not structurally supported and could naturally erode and move with wind.
So this is the exact text message that her dad had written out to her to send to me. So it says, the occupant of the home directly west of the subject property has altered the conditions at the base of the property line fencing / retaining wall. The earth backfill on the west side of the wall has been removed, exposing a portion of the existing footing. A new roughly 2-foot high wall constructed parallel to the existing wall and fill dirt used to create a flower bed between the two walls and an irrigation system installed. All of these conditions could adversely affect the structural integrity of the existing wall. The seller shall employ at their expense a registered civil or structural engineer who shall provide written confirmation that the existing conditions meet code requirements, is fully acceptable, and will continue to function without any adverse effects.
Is this community still being built in?
I think that they might have a second phase, but I'm spacing on it right now. It's right off of Tangerine and La Cholla. I can't think of it right now. Sorry.
If they are, I'm just wondering if they are still building out there, if they could have somebody, not just like a handyman, but I'm wondering if there's like somebody as part of their crew that certifies or, comes out and like signs off on things. I mean, who would sign off on that to begin with? Like, who is that something that would ordinarily be signed off on and like certified as structurally sound?
It doesn't sound like the dad that would be satisfactory unless it's he wants a registered
Well, what I'm saying is,
civil
even
engineer.
if the dirt was there, would they, like, I guess the argument could be made that like, even if you
It would've
bought
never
this
been an
house
issue.
brand new with the dirt, they wouldn't do that. So it's not like normal or, a reasonable request to ask that they would do that, right? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, they could, but they could very well say no. And if that's the case, then I mean, I just feel like check to see if a permit was pulled like in city records, right? Or whoever in or Valley would issue that. If they didn't, my thoughts, and tell me what you guys think. I'm like thinking I'd be hesitant to like stir up a bee's nest, like with the neighbor and a brand new person moving in. Like, you don't want to start beef right from the jump. So like, what can you find out from the builder itself? Like, hey, when you guys do this, can you give me guidelines? Like, you obviously have guidelines to everything you build. Is this dirt put there because it is intended structural component?
Yeah, and it's not he believes the builder. He does not believe, he is concerned that the neighbor did it himself, right?
Yo, that's what I'm saying. But even if he did, what I'm saying is his issue is that the footing's exposed and the dirt is no longer there. Well, if you have the manufacturer say, listen, bro, the dirt is only there because we're lazy and we push it up against the sides, or because it's more appealing looking, it doesn't have any structural, like relevance to it, then that should satisfy the wall is constructed as intended, right? And the dirt was not a structural component to the integrity of the wall. The fact that it's not there is irrelevant.
But my thought is that that's the neighbors. It has nothing to do with the property. It has no structural value or anything to the property that they're buying. It's not so they could put, a giant trap or something back there in their own yard. And that's on them. It has nothing to do with what they're purchasing.
Well, it does if it's a
Except
shared
it
wall.
is a shared fence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's their concern. They're saying like, what if the wall were to collapse later on,
Aren't they on the higher side?
They're on the higher side, yes.
Well, then isn't it going to fall into the neighbor's yard anyway?
And I think that they're just like, This is what I was saying about them making a mountain out of a molehill, you know?
Is it? Here's the thing. Your dad's a structural engineer, which means that he's probably look at life a little differently. Is this their first purchase?
No.
Okay. Well, we all know that dads like to over dad on situations, which is fine. And dad also has to be a structural engineer. So dad, by the nature of engineers, is going to make it more difficult so that he can understand it. Break it down to simple. Are we here to protect the buyer? Yes. Can we ask for the buyer on the Binzer to have the seller hire a third party to evaluate the situation because it is affecting their wall? Absolutely. Is this a run for the hills situation? No, but does it merit evaluation? I think so. But level set expectation. Even if it turns out to be fine, it's in writing and you're covered. If the seller says, I'm not doing that, kick rocks, at least you asked. I would ask, you know what? I'm going to put it in there, but what if the seller says no? Because it's not their property, it's not their side of the wall, and X, Y, and Z. Christina.
Yeah. Could you like sort of turn the tables a little bit and lean into the dad's expertise and say, you know, like, listen, you obviously know a lot more about this so that I'm making the most efficient use of time since we have limited time here. What kinds of questions, you know, would you want, like, other than the dirt, are there other things that could go in place here? You know, what's the risk? Like, I'm curious what he's feeling like the issue is, or what he thinks a solid remedy is other than
his text message outlining that.
But I mean, other than putting dirt back in there, are there other options? That's what I'm saying, like having a broader conversation.
What are the remedies you're looking for? Now, here's the thing. Caitlin's not going to hire an inspector to do it. She's asking the seller to do it. So time frame wise, better in our books. But a great question Christina's coming up with is this, she's being solutions oriented, and I love that, is what would make you happy? What would make you comfortable? Mr. I am trained in structural engineering. What would make you satisfied? We don't know. Maybe this guy is a block specialist and he does block walls for a living. I don't know. More than likely, he does riprap repairing walls on the side of freeways.
Well, that's what I was saying. Ask the manufacturer, like if they're still building, go back and say, hey, is the fill dirt that gets put against these walls part of the structural integrity of it? I think Anthony's.
Yes.
What type of
something?
Answer your question on that, Christina, because I've heard you say it a couple of times. Yes.
When there's riprap, but if there's not, like I've seen
when
them
you
where
have a foundation, when you have a foundation, to be structurally sound, that foundation still needs to be encased in the earth and soil because it creates metastatic pressure that is your lateral force. Yes, the weight is directly up and down, but wind makes things move, and that soil is what keeps everything in the position. You take soil away from one side, now you have a position. And the funny thing is, if the wind pushes against the high side, there's no point on the bottom to keep it from falling into the buyer's yard, even though they're the high side of the wall. It's actually going to fall into the other side because there's nothing holding it here. But if we have a force on this side, it keeps it from falling, just like we have a force on this side that keeps it from falling.
Dan, real quick,
is it likely? Probably not. However, you raise a concern. We want to protect ourselves. Mara, I'll be with you in a second. Anthony's had his finger up for a minute.
Sure.
You're muted.
He can't unmute himself, so.
Real quick, I came in halfway through. Did you say this is your father?
No.
No.
It's buyer's father.
Oh.
Then we would have told him to go kick rocks barefoot with fluffy socks on or whatever Dan says.
No, never mind. All right, never mind. I just wanted to know because I just went through a deal with my father. And sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and just say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If this was my dad, I would feel a lot better.
Mara, one more thing, and then we'll get back to Caitlin and then get you out of here.
Yeah, real quick, just if she's going to write this up, I would caution his wording. No professional is going to sign off on that exact wording to guarantee that nothing will ever go wrong with it. So I'd just be really aware of that.
Right. So.
Yeah, I did ask them. I was like, I said, our Binzer is due tomorrow. Does your dad have any recommendations of people that he knows, any connections of people that he knows that he could get out there tomorrow? Does he have any idea of how much it would cost? So that was my only like prayer and a saving grace as to maybe being able to get someone out there. But they still want and I told them, I was very realistic. I said, I absolutely understand. I said, here's my one concern, if you guys were selling your house and your neighbors did something and the buyers wanted you to pay for it, would you be inclined to pay for it? And they said no, but, and they were like, we totally understand. Like, we get it. We want to still ask if we can. And I said, sure.
I would have this conversation with the neighbor that put the flower bed in. I'll be like, if you're looking for a copy of the permit, because at the end of the day, it's like you said, when you first mentioned it, I was like, I'm pretty sure you can't do certain things within like the retaining wall portion of the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
So like, that could be a conversation with them to be like, hey dude, we noticed that you pulled this down. Do you have anything in writing to satisfy this? Because our inspector's pinging this. So before it becomes a bigger issue, are you willing to have somebody come out? And I'd see if the people that put the flower bed would fucking do it. Because otherwise, if they didn't do it legit and get the permission that they're supposed to do, they're in trouble anyway.
Well, and that's why I told my clients, I said, I'll go to the neighbors. I'll go and knock on the door. I have no problem. Like I'll just ask them, they would like me to ask the HOA first, because kind of like how you were saying in the beginning, they don't want to get in between anything with the neighbors. Yeah. So they want me to ask the HOA in the beginning. My question is what type of permit would this be under for a flower bed?
It'd be a structural wall permit.
Structural wall. Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you what you're gonna find. They didn't pull anything. It's the fucking backyard and it's landscaping. Of course,
Yeah.
They're like, it's landscaping, and that's what people are gonna think because, well, they don't understand what goes into building a wall. Yeah, it's just a foundation, the exposed concrete. No, but there's a lot more to it than just dirt on the side of a block wall. Just because we think we know does not give us license to give answers to it. Just like 15 real estate professionals just talked for 20 minutes about the same issue off of one single photo that none of you can really see. That's why it's important to say that. You know what? If it's a concern to you, get it inspected.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad said it was a concern. You love your dad. I would say, hey, your dad said, let's check it out. Let's have them do it. What are they going to say no? If they say no, what are you going to do? We'll probably buy the house anyways. Then don't care. If they want to make a mountain out of it, that's fine. Just because they made a mountain out of it doesn't mean you need to climb it.
Yeah.
You can just say, okay, we'll ask the seller for it. What if they say no? Is this going to keep you from wanting to move into this house? No. Okay. Well, let's see what they say. Right? Old car. What's it stand for, right? Obedience. Do what they asked you to do. Christina's all, what's old car?
I remember it, but now I don't remember what it stands for.
It is your
Loyalty.
obligations as a real estate to protect your clients in a fiduciary manner.
Obedience, loyalty. Was it disclosure?
Disclosure.
I know one is accounting.
Confidentiality, accounting, and reasonable skill and care.
Reasonable skill and care. So that last one
Okay.
matters too, guys. Are you engineers? Do you know what it takes to put in a block wall or to fix a block wall? Probably not.
No.
So get a professional. The first thing I tell people is, yeah, I've seen this before, but I'm not licensed to give you an answer. Do you think it's a concern? Do you think it's a concern? I mean, I personally wouldn't be worried about it, but it's not my house. Just
New
because-
construction home, there's way more things you should be worried about.
Way more things. Like, have you not seen that Cy Porter guy on TikTok? Yeah, there's way more things we should
I
worry
thought she was going to hit us with some truss issues.
Yeah.
Some roof trusses
Bed
where
trusses.
like the dad climbed up in the attic and saw some
That would be my luck. That actually,
busted
yeah,
trusses.
that would be my luck.
We've had that. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for having a great conversation today and giving your insights. I like this because if you guys know it or not, you learn more when you have group conversations.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you
Good
for bringing
luck.
questions,
Good
comments.
luck.
Questions,
Good
comments.
luck.
Rest of you, I'll see you tomorrow as well. Like always, have a fantastic day. Go do something great. And